Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Medlock Post radio show. A little get up and get at 'em type music there. Yeah, let's bang on the drum all day. I don't want to work. I got the government to take care of me. Let's just bang on the drum all day. Play the organ. Do whatever you want to do. But let the government take care of everything. I don't have to be responsible for one thing now. They're doing it all. Welcome to the Medlock Post radio show. This is your congenial host, Richard G. Medlock. This is the All-American program where we educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower. This is where we stand for the red, white, and blue. That's right, we stand for the red, white, and blue. It's part of our show today. We are brought to you by the United States Constitution, and we fight for truth, justice, and the American way. Yes, that's from Superman, but it's just as true today as it was in the 1940s and 50s. We're going to keep that battle up. Whether we bang on the drum all day or bang on progressives' heads, it doesn't matter. We're going to keep fighting out there this enemy that's trying to destroy truth, justice, and the American way. It's not going to happen. The views and opinions on the Medlock Post radio show are the views and opinions of me, the host, and anybody else that chimes in during the show. They are not necessarily the views and opinions of Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker.com, its corporations, affiliates, or any other podcast streaming services. Today is May 4th, not May 1st, as I didn't change it in my template. This is May 4th. And yes, I apologize for, we were here Monday. This is Thursday. A lot of things went on. Tuesday was not planned. Wednesday, some things came up and just totally wiped out my day. I do apologize. But anyway, we're back today. Today is May 4th, 2023. Let's get that right. Episode 143. The title of this is by far the most dangerous situation. Now, if you've seen the news the last 2 or 3 days, you know what I'm talking about. And you might not. You might be thinking what Joe Biden is doing to America, or what the globalists are trying to do, or what's going on in the banking situation, So you probably have a lot of different thoughts here. So there's a lot. That's why I chose that title. There's a lot of different meanings to that title. By far the most dangerous situation. And as we unfold today, I think you're going to see how that plays out. I've got some interesting things today for you, ladies and gentlemen, and some historical things that I think will pique your interest in a little bit. George Washington told us this: your love of liberty, your respect for the laws, your habits of industry, and your practice of the moral and righteous obligations are the strongest claims to national and individual happiness. It's interesting that he says happiness, not success, not wealth, but happiness. Two different things. I've known a lot of happy people that didn't make a lot of money. They had good families. They loved their families, and they were happy. They weren't out there trying to become the richest or most famous or whatever. They were happy in their life that they had created themselves, not that anybody else had created for them. Now, he mentions habits of industry. That might be why I played bang on the drum all day. Our habits of work, our habits of a free market system will lead to us being happy. Respect for the law. Oh, my goodness. How important is that? But love of liberty, love of freedom. Wow. Margaret Thatcher, the monstrous evil of communism not only denied the fundamental rights of human beings to self-expression and self-development, it sought to change the nature and instincts of human beings, corroding loyalty to family, love of country, and respect for truth. So Margaret Thatcher just laid out the monstrous evil of communism, and it's just the opposite of what George Washington was saying. Love of liberty, respect for laws, habits of industry, moral and righteous obligations, which go to your family and your community. But communism corrodes those things. It is an acid that eats away at all good things. And it's just corruptible. Make it a note there. Here is by far the most dangerous situation I've ever been in. Customer films entire restaurant standing for Star-Spangled Banner in the middle of their meals. A TikToker's video. Now, before I get in, I want you to think of some questions as we go through this. Is this person or are these people truly feeling like the Star-Spangled Banner is the most dangerous situation they've been in? A recording of a national anthem? Or is this a group of people that heard restaurants were doing this or places of business are doing this and they wanted to go in and shame them? All right, think about those questions. Now, a TikToker's video at a restaurant playing the national anthem is sparking debate on the popular social media platform. I know it's real popular. TikTok, you're not going to get me on there. Paulina at Paulina PPA _ zero. No, not that's it. Paulina PPA underscore zero. She put the zero in there. That's her. That's how you get to her. Okay. So, yeah, I know. Okay. She took a video at the Rainbow Oaks Country Market in Fallbrook, California. It's interesting this is in California, right? Which shows several diners standing up out of respect for the song. It wasn't several. If you look at the video, it was everybody. She found the situation to be dangerous, and several other TikTok users also shared similar experiences they had at other restaurants, which they too found to be unnerving. Now, that goes back to my question. Is this a setup? Starts off with Paulina recording her pancakes and then the interior of a restaurant. Well, I hope that they were not Aunt Jemima pancakes. That would have probably really set her off. Of course, Aunt Jemima is done away with. However, Pearl Milling Company, it's still the same product. They just have it in a new package. It's the same product, folks. But you just change the name. A rose is a rose is a rose. By any other name, it's still a rose. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, guess what, folks? It's a duck. Just like if Coca-Cola decided to change their name to Woca-Cola. Woca-Wola. How about that name? Woca-Wola. It's still the same product. And I'm sure they're not going to adopt Woca-Wola as a new name. That would make it even worse, okay? But she stayed seated in front of her meal as other patrons stood up and saluted the flag by putting their hand over their heart as the Star Spangled Banner plays on the establishment loudspeaker, and the TV was showing, several TVs were showing American flags waving. Apparently, this lady, Paulina, went nuts. And of course, her caption, by far the most dangerous situation I've ever been in, followed by get out, illegal, white people things, hashtags. One commenter remarked that this isn't a unique experience just to the restaurant Paulina visited. I worked at Mission Barbecue, and they made us do this every day at noon. I hated it there so much. Wait a minute. They made you? Mission Barbecue made all their employees stop and for the Star Spangled Banner. I hated it there so much, she said, or whoever posted. That's kind of interesting. Another person who said they visited Mission Barbecue as a customer experienced a similar situation that also didn't sit too well with them. This happened when I was at Mission Barbecue once, and it was so awkward that I haven't been back since. Seriously, folks. We'll get on. There's a response to this. It's kind of interesting. One commenter just couldn't understand why a restaurant would do that. Was it like for a reason, or did it just start playing randomly and they all got up on reflex? Wild. Well, what does that mean? Just playing it randomly, and then it's like everybody's a Pavlov dog when Star Spangled Banner starts playing? Just, okay. Okay. This isn't the first time a restaurant has gone viral after footage of employees and customers standing up out of respect for the national anthem was posted online. A Redditor also uploaded a video of a Mission Barbecue national anthem session which had one commenter remarking, "As an American, this makes me incredibly uncomfortable." Well, wait a minute. You call yourself an American. Are you a South American, Central American? What type of American are you? Most Americans I know respect the national anthem. It's no big deal. See, folks, is this a organized push to get people to start turning against the Star Spangled Banner, or to embarrass companies to not do it anymore? I wonder, is Mission Barbecue and Red Oaks Country Restaurant losing customers or gaining customers? And I bet you it's the latter. So it goes on a little bit. How it started, some of this started, the history of it, and so forth, and so on. So the Rainbow Oaks Country Market Restaurant also stated via Facebook that they play the national anthem at noon every day, along with the announcement. The brand attached an image of actor Gary Sinise speaking into a microphone, speaking to the significance of the American flag. He says this: "That flag represents something very powerful to the men and women who serve our country. So out of respect for them and those who fight to protect that flag and what that flag represents, I stand up and put my hand over my heart." That is read. Paulina uploaded a response via TikTok to a user who told her, "If you don't like it here, I'm sure Africa will take you back." I didn't see in the video or anything that she said, except one thing, that she might be an African American. Except when she talked about the white, what did she call it? The white. I got to find it here. Oh, white people things. Now I know a lot of white people that have gotten into this anti-white thing. So be careful there. Now, the Daily Dot that's reporting this has reached out to Rainbow Oaks. I went on the Daily Dot this morning, and Rainbow Oaks had yet to reply to them. Why should they? They're not doing anything wrong. It's not illegal, like what Paulina says. She says, get out, illegal white people things. So let me ask you again. Is this a concerted effort to target restaurants or businesses that play the Star Spangled Banner to try to shame them, to make them look bad? Remember, it always has the opposite effect. Now, let me ask you another question. By far the most dangerous thing or situation, to me, it's people in America, possibly Americans, who are so offended by the Star Spangled Banner, by the true history of America, by the military, by all things that are good American, that they're so offended that they feel like that their life is threatened. That's a dangerous situation. Far more dangerous than a restaurant playing the Star Spangled Banner at noon every day. Did these people, if they're Americans, come out of the school system, the public school system? Is that where they learn this? It might be. Now let me ask you another thing that might be a very, by far, the most dangerous situation. What if, now be careful people out there, I'm saying, what if Joe Biden were to drop dead today of a heart attack and Kamala Harris becomes president, would that be a dangerous situation? There are far more dangerous situations. Pray tell. The southern border. The tons of fentanyl that are coming across the border. The tons of terrorists that are coming across the border. The tons of sex trafficking that's coming across the border. Is that not a far more dangerous situation than a restaurant playing the Star-Spangled Banner at noon every day? This is what we're dealing with in America today. We're dealing with a mentality. I don't know if it's even a mentality. It's probably just trained reactions to certain things. And if this group or these people, if they're trained that the Star-Spangled Banner is a dangerous situation and people standing up and placing their hands over their hearts when it's played is the most dangerous situation they're in, I feel sorry for them. Because they are not using any type of reason, common sense. What if these restaurants started playing the China national anthem? They would probably put on TikTok, "Oh, I'm so comfortable now. I feel wonderful." It's interesting, isn't it, folks? There's no common sense out here. Oh, I have so much to cover, and I'm looking at what I am probably going to have to skip a couple things today. Our time is just flying. I want to go something that I quoted on the show Monday by John F. Kennedy. In 1961, January 19th. Today, we need a nation of Minutemen, citizens who are not only prepared to take up arms, but citizens who regard the preservation of freedom as a basic purpose of their daily life and who are willing to consciously work and sacrifice for that freedom. The cause of liberty, the cause of America, cannot succeed with any lesser effort. Now, I also posted that on the Medlock post 2 Facebook pages, one public and one private. Well, I want to read what Jim B. came back with. I'm not going to, I was tempted to give you his name, but it's Jim B. And, you know that Saturday they're crowning the king in England, right? Okay. He fires back, a good follower, a good friend of mine, David, said Democrats would not accept him these days. Well, Jim comes back, LMAO exclamation mark. Hellfire. These are called patriots. These so-called patriots can't even keep up the NFL boycott over a season. They're not going to risk their country club memberships for principles. Really? Dave came back. The NFL boycott started in 2014, still seems strong. And I agree. And then Jim B comes back with a swear word, starts with an S. Our brothers talk big on it, then a year later, at least half posts are about NFL and stats and game. Just not so. My point is many fluff their feathers up to look big, then play possum and simply go back to what they were doing. You see this trend here? Okay. So Jim B got a response from me. I said, Mr. B, spelled out his own name, and of course Saturday they're crowning the King of England. Mr. B, thank you for feeling free to express your opinion on Facebook. Freedom of speech. What a wonderful concept. Maybe we should put it in the Constitution. Oh, wait, it's already there. And to the point, a boycott of a sports league or a commercial product is usually short-lived anyway. But in the quote, Kennedy said essential liberties are those that take away our rights to speak, worship, and bear arms. Mr. B, I promise you that you have underestimated the patriotism of millions of Americans who will stand and fight for those rights. They will stand and fight for their families and faith, and they will stand and fight for the U.S. Constitution. And let's add in there, they will stand and fight for the Star-Spangled Banner. Back to my statement. In your statement, you inferred that Americans are cowards. I'm sorry you feel that way. I would ask you start looking a little deeper into the American way of life, and you will probably arrive at a different conclusion. Please look beyond the snowflakes and wokeness in this country. And lastly, be true to yourself. I might not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. May God bless you. Mr. B comes back. I didn't, he spells D-I-N-T. His English is not the greatest, folks. I didn't know your history, but I've been in the trenches, not behind a comfy desk, or brought up in luxury and live in a gated community. Well, I don't know where he got that about me. My point is, back to Mr. B, my point is the same you praise, and I had hope in it at one point, simply will not ever stand up at the race hustling, queer hustling, the culture war, and threats of Marxists that now on DNC and DC propagate. Try to figure that out. Sorry, but my opinions are from live and fought experiences, not reading feel good, go along, or to get along gated community conservatives or limousine liberals dogma that they have been spoon-fed to believe. This continues. I go back. Did you fall for the vax hoax? Or no, he continued. He added another one. Did you fall for the vax hoax and the Ukraine war fraud too, honestly? He continues, if you did, you are not much better than the lefties championing something they are clueless about. Now, are you guys lost? You see this picture? Then I go back, I say, your views and our beliefs are very interesting and very assuming. That's all I said. He comes back. That's what life is if you brave enough to go out and live it and not be spoon-fed it. In other words, you fell for both hoaxes. See, he's just assuming all this stuff because I never said anything, right? And then he continues, and the Bolshevik Anthony Blinken just caught orchestrating the Hunter Biden laptop 51 Intel signatures, and subsequent cover-up is the same Bolshevik that with fellow Bolshevik Vicki Nuland put fellow Bolshevik Zelensky in power in the CIA Mossad orchestrated color revolution in 2014. So the lies are unraveling. Might just want to get in the right team. Get in the right team, not on the right team. Okay. Then he continues. And yet the war-hungry fools just cheer on the fraud. Sorry, that's hard to stomach. We did same in Nicaragua and half South America and South Africa. Now our own CIA is doing the same tactics in the USA. Undoubtedly, they have enough dumbed down and are distracted to get away with it. So excuse me if I think the willfully blind and desperately distracted get up off the couch and stand up. Damn, they won't even speak up, much less fight. Okay, now it's my turn. Mr. B. Mr. B, and I want to remind you again that Saturday they're going to put the crown on the king in England. Did you get the vax? Again, you are making assumptions, and now that you have resulted to name-calling, it must mean you are out of values and principles to stand on. He comes back. Nope. There is no this is no congressional hearing where you can lie and deny. Why would I get a product put in my body 100% crested and distributed? He goes on about the vax. And then same with Ukraine and same thing there. Sorry, time for reality, not thoughts and prayers. Did you get vax and fall for the Ukraine? And then he put a bunch of memes in there that were basically meaningless. So he's got talking points in here for folks. He has communist and Marxist talking points in what he is saying. I just want to know that I get stuff like that, and it's interesting to read. And how to handle it. I basically ask questions. And it's setting him off. And I don't know, why, but anyway, time is flying, folks. I want to let's jump to a brighter side for a little bit. I saw this the other day. This was really just hit home because it speaks to my generation. It's called The Unraveling Granny. Long ago and far away in a land that time forgot, before the days of Dylan or the dawn of Camelot, there lived a race of innocents, and they were you and me. For Ike was in the White House in that land where we were born, where navels were for oranges and place was porn. We longed for love and romance and waited for our prince. Eddie Fisher married Liz, and no one's seen him since. We danced to Little Darling and sang to Stagger Lee and cried for Buddy Holly in the land that made me, me. Only girls wore earrings then, and 3 was one too many. And only boys wore flat-top cuts, except for Gene McKinney. And only in our wildest dreams did we expect to see a boy named George with lipstick in the land that made me, me. We fell for Frankie Avalon, and that was oh so nice. And when they made a movie, they never made it twice. We didn't have a Star Trek 5 or Psycho 2 or 3 or Rocky Rambo 20 in the land that made me, me. Miss Kitty had a heart of gold, and Chester had a limp, and Reagan was a Democrat whose co-star was a chimp. We had a Mr. Wizard, but not a Mr. T, and Oprah couldn't talk yet in the land that made me, me. We had our share of heroes. We never thought they'd go, at least not Bobby Darin or Marilyn Monroe. For youth was still eternal, and life was yet to be, and Elvis was forever in the land that made me, me. We'd never seen the rock band that was grateful to be dead, and airplanes weren't named Jefferson, and Zeppelins were not lead. And beetles lived in gardens then, and monkeys lived in trees. Madonna was Mary in the land that made me, me. We'd never heard of microwaves or telephones and cars, and babies might be bottle-fed, but they were not grown in jars. And pumping iron got wrinkles out, and gay meant fancy-free, and dorms were never co-ed in the land that made me, me. We hadn't seen enough of jets to talk about the lag, and microchips were what was left at the bottom of the bag. And hardware was a box of nails, and bites came with from a flea. And rocket ships were fiction in the land that made me, me. T-birds came with potholes, and sideshows came with freaks. And bathing suits came big enough to cover both your cheeks. And Coke just came in bottles and skirts below the knee. And Castro came to power near the land that made me, me. We had no Crest with fluoride. We had no Hill Street Blues. We had no patterned pantyhose or Lipton herbal tea, or primetime ads for those dysfunctions in the land that made me, me. There were no golden arches, no Perrier to chill, and fish were not called Wanda, and cats were not called Bill. And middle age was 35, and old was 43. And ancients were our parents in the land that made me, me. But all things have a season, or so we've heard them say. And now instead of Maybelline, we swear at Retina A. They send us invitations to join AARP. We've come a long way, baby, from the land that made me, me. So now we face a brave new world in slightly larger jeans and wonder why they're using smaller print in magazines. And we tell our children's children of the way it used to be long ago and far away in the land that made me, me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to post that on my blog post, the Medlock Post blogspot.com, medlockpost.blogspot.com. Here's a question. Maybe we should all sit down and take a look back at what, who, and how made me, me. What influenced me? Who influenced me? How did I become me? I think it might be a great exercise even to sit down with your family, even your children, and share that with your children and grandchildren. That's your history. To go back and talk about things. Talk about your parents, your grandparents, great-grandparents if you knew them, cousins. Oh, tell these stories. Write them down. Go back. How was me made? Interesting. And it's all, anyway, that's just kind of playing in here. I'm going to hold this one story. It's posted on the Medlock Post blog. Oh, and speaking of that, I started that back up, Monday night, growing quite rapidly, folks. I've turned it into a news feed. I'll put things like the Unraveling Granny on there, and it might even be on there. I'll have to check. And I put some other wise things on there, and it's interesting the numbers just in a few days of how it's going on. And it's what are we up to? I'm looking at my stats. Just today, I've had 280, and I've only put like 6 or 8 posts on there early this morning. So thank you. Tune in medlockpost.blogspot.com. You want real news that's pertinent to what we do? Go there, and you'll see what I'm looking at. A lot of what I can't post everything. I mean, I could, but I'm not. Let's talk about, this was on May 2nd, 2 days ago, the anniversary of the King James Bible being published. And it helped fuel the American Revolution. Now, this was May 2nd, 1611. Yes, over 400 years ago. Now, this is the King James Bible is the most famous version of the book. And you say, geez, it was only published in 1611? Yes, but a lot of blood was lost to get it there. The King James Version, or Authorized version of the Bible, remains the most widely published text in the English language. It is King James the First of England in 1604, commissioned the Bible to be made. It is famed for what its artfully written versions of the Old and New Testament tells. Its success bringing the world of God to English-speaking commoners and its influence on the American colonies. In commissioning the first complete English translation of Christianity's most sacred book, the king hoped to end protest by the Puritan faction of the Church of England. The result, beyond simply an authorized text on which to continue building the national religion, would have far more reaching influence on the language itself. The King James Bible was definitely published in 1611, definitively published, though the actual date of its first release is unknown. Bible scholars established May 2nd as its most likely date, and that was in 2011. The King James or Authorized version of the Bible remains the most published text in the English language. King James I proved perhaps the most consequential monarch in the growth of the future United States. He chartered the Virginia Company, which in 1607 established the first permanent English settlement in the American colonies, Jamestown, Virginia, and was named in his honor, King James. The King James Bible was widely read in the American colonies, though typically published in Britain. It was often the book in the pulpit during the First Great Awakening of the mid-1700s that helped fuel the American independence movement. Excuse me. Atkin, Atken, a Philadelphia bookseller born in Scotland, published a version of the King James Bible in the American colonies in the 1770s. Now, there is an Atkin Bible organization out there getting these Bibles out there. I need to get him on the show. I've tried a couple of times and haven't been successful. It became known as the Bible of the Revolution because it was printed in small size so that copies could be distributed to soldiers in the colonial army. Now, the King James Bible became known as the Bible of the Revolution. The Bible behind the King James Bible is the story behind the King James Bible is packed with all the political and religious intrigue and conflict that defined the British monarchy for centuries. King James VI gained the throne of Scotland at 1567 at just 13 months old. He became King James I on England. Okay, let's kind of spring forward here, because I'm gonna pick this up on Friday because time's running out here. But William Tisdale, I'm gonna pick this up on Friday. I'm sorry about this, but our time is running out. I looked at the clock wrong, and I want to get into Fires of Faith. I want to finish up about the King James version of the Bible, and then we'll go from there. All righty? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Sorry about this, but we will pick this up tomorrow and finish it. This is all fascinating stuff. So thank you for being here today, and God bless America.